Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel Arroyo, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist located in Southern California. In today's Psych in Real Life interview, I'm speaking with family law attorney and mediator Scott Levin. Scott's going to talk about some tips and tricks or helpful information on alternatives to traditional divorce with his mediation process. If you're new to our channel, welcome. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our weekly videos on mental health related topics and helpful coping skills for you to apply in your own everyday lives. All right, we have Scott Levin, family law and mediator with us. Scott, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Scott Levin. I'm the founding partner of San Diego Divorce Mediation and Family Law. So my background is I am a family law attorney. I'm also a certified divorce financial analyst, which just means that I know all about the financials of divorce, and I've taken tests about that. But I exclusively practice in mediation. So I like to call myself the chief peacekeeper because I do not go to court. I try to keep people outside of court and working with me to come up with solutions to whatever it is that they need help with.
Awesome. I love the term mediator, and I'd like to get into a little bit more of that in a little bit, but I want to maybe address kind of an elephant in the room. My title is licensed marriage and family therapist. So usually when people look me up or people want to talk to me, they are expecting me to help them with their relationships, and they'll ask me kind of what my perspective is on being married and divorce overall, and that's kind of a hot topic that clients will ask me about, and I typically tell them, I'm here to help them with their relationships, and that's my value. I value marriage and value working on that relationship, but I also understand that there are clients that will come to see me that uh, maybe separating is the best option for them, and I'm trying to work with them to separate in the best, healthiest way possible. What are your perspectives on divorce and working on
Yeah.
relationships?
Well, I'll tell you, just on Wednesday of this week, I had a couple come into my virtual meeting room. Of course,
Mm,
I'm doing everything over conference line or Zoom these days,
mm,
but I don't see anybody that hasn't tried counseling first.
mm,
So there's a really nice young couple. They didn't seem really sure of,
mm,
they had chemistry, but that's not for me to judge. But really, I asked them a key question. I said, have you guys been to any joint counseling
mm,
to work on your relationship? And they said, not yet. We're actually thinking about that. And I said, well, you can't hire me to help you separate until you at least give your relationship a try with a professional.
mm,
So I couldn't agree more with you about relationships. Oftentimes, I think people should stay together. Divorce is hard, and
mm,
things usually don't get easier after the divorce. And that's the scary little secret that my friends in family law litigation community don't talk about.
mm,
Most people, honestly, will have less money than they had when they were married. They're going to
mm,
see their kids less if they have children,
mm,
and yet and especially if they have children, and yet they will still be in a relationship to some extent with the mother or father of their kids post
mm.
divorce, and
Yeah.
that relationship doesn't end. My one of my siblings just moved back home with my mom, and he's 36. So kids
Wow.
grow up less quickly than they used to, in my opinion, or they're less likely to leave the nurturing space of their families. So it it's a last resort. Of course,
Mm,
if there's abuse or some critical issue, then then a person should definitely be safe and exit that situation. But if it's just a common disagreement, or we're not really feeling each other like we used to, I think they should try harder
Mm.
typically.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's what I tell my couples as well is we are working this, and that's one of the main questions I ask right when couples come into my office. Like, hey, what is genuinely our goal? Let's be real about what our goal is, and then what are we doing here together? Please don't use me as the excuse to we tried everything, now we're separating. Be honest with me and one another to really kind of figure out what it is we are doing here as far as what our goal is to make this work. And like you said, if there's abuse or it's just not the right fit, because unfortunately sometimes that does happen, then yeah, we definitely want to split up amicably and in the most healthiest way possible. So I appreciate you sharing how you
Hey,
feel about
Gabriel,
that
let me
as
ask you
well.
a quick question. Like, a lot of couples will wait till it's almost too late before they
Mm-hmm.
get into counseling. Why do you think that is? Like, is it that one of the parties just is kind of anti idea of counseling, or why do people wait so long?
you know I don't have a straightforward answer for that. There's a lot of different reasons. I think that one of the big reasons is that stigma with mental health, and I think that there's a stigma in mental health, and there's a lot of people that have the shame with maybe saying our relationship's not working and that sense of failure. But ultimately, I don't think it's that at all, and that's what I share with my clients is we are a team and we're all working on this together. And relationships and communication, it's all hard. All of it is hard. It's difficult. And I think that that's part of that vow we take in marriage and in our relationship is that we are willing to work on it. And that's what I usually challenge my clients and couples to face is do we really want to put in the work? But yeah, there's a lot of different reasons. But that's the biggest one that I hear is I didn't want to admit to myself or my partner or ourselves that we're not making this work. And I think a lot of people do come into counseling, uh, not to say when it's too late, but we've broken a lot of plates and a lot of things that there's a lot more work that we have to put in versus if uh, I'm a strong believer in premarital counseling and just kind of ongoing maintenance with it. It's just like any other activity with exercise routines or working out. We have to continually maintenance our relationship, and people change throughout time. So adjusting to that and learning about our partners over and over and over again throughout our relationship. That's a
Yeah,
great
that's a
question.
great answer. I love that answer, Gabriel. I'm someone that's been in therapy and couples therapy for a very long time, and our relationship has had its ebbs and flows. But
Mhm.
our therapist has helped us remain committed and focused on the goal, which is having a happy life.
Great.
So I appreciate you sharing that.
Great. Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, but let's talk more about you and your practice. Can you tell everybody that's watching what's different about your approach? You threw in the word mediator a lot, mediation. So tell us a little bit more about your practice.
Yeah. So, well, I've been licensed in California to practice law since 2004. And for the first number of years through 2012, I was what's called a litigator. So I
Mm-hmm.
was someone that only one party to a dispute would hire, and we would essentially position our client to defeat the other client in litigation.
Mm-hmm.
And in the family law context, it's really a sad and hard thing because
Yeah.
a vast majority of people, somewhere around 90% of people, and I'm not sure if it's because of Hollywood or why people do this, but the first thing that they each do is run off and hire litigating attorneys,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they go to court against each other. And the first thing that a litigating attorney in the family law context will do is that they'll ask for a position statement from their client. And what that position statement is it's all the crap, all the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that happened between the parties, because they need to know all the bad stuff that the other person did to their client, because
Wow.
again, they're going to position their client versus the other side,
Mm.
and one person's going to try to win and the other person will lose, and there's no medium ground in litigation. One will win and one will lose. And a lot of people are familiar with, like, a lot of people, when they first tell their friends they're going through, or they're gonna, start a divorce, their friends will be like, well, man, you need to get a shark. You need to get someone that will kill the other side.
Yeah.
And it's really sad, because once you let a shark in the cage, guess what happens? Everybody gets bloodied. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
No one is spared. So in 2012, I completely stopped my practice. I was very successful. I mentioned I was in therapy. My therapist and I were working on, why was I unhappy but so successful? I had a beautiful wife, children, everything was going well. But what was holding me back? And the answer that I discovered was, I wasn't doing anything to help people when I made money. My clients ended up paying me way too much. And that wasn't my fault. It's the other side's attorney. It only takes one bad attorney for both sides to pay a ton of money. So again, the average divorce right now in California is taking a little over 2 years. And it's all about looking backwards. Remember that position statement? It's all about what's in the rear view mirror. And it's a really unhealthy process. Each side on average, I mean, this is on average. So take all the cases that someone only speaks to an attorney one time. On average, they're spending over $45,000 each on attorneys. So
wow.
So it's a very costly situation. It's a 2-year process, and you're looking behind you. And what I discovered is that although I won a lot of cases, when I was litigating, I felt like I hadn't won any. And so I decided one day that I was just going to stop, and I was going to transition my whole practice into a mediation practice. So I have not seen the inside of a courtroom since then. So it's been over almost 8 years.
Wow.
And what mediation is, it's a totally different way of getting divorced. And it really should be the way that everybody tries first. So with mediation, it's about a 4 to 5 week process. So it's 2 years in litigation, or 4 or 5 weeks in mediation. It costs about 5% the cost that a litigated divorce will cost. And because you're saving so much money and you're saving so much time, there's also a third benefit that you can't really measure, which is the emotional savings of not being stuck in that scenario for 2 years. And so there's a tremendous emotional benefit for both sides. And so in mediation, both parties engage me. So I don't represent either. I'm not acting as their attorneys, but I'm kind of representing their futures. And if they have children, I'm kind of representing their children, because I'm trying to help these two people who can definitely, 95% of the time, people successfully navigate divorce through mediation. So I'm trying to help them and their kids save a whole lot of heartache and money and time, and just move forward by focusing on the future. So it's totally future focused. I a lot of times never hear all the stuff. There's a lot of clients that I don't know why they're getting divorced, other than, again, I insist that before they engage me, that they've seen a mental health professional to try to help them. But once they're firm that this is the path they want to take, then, divorce mediation is a much healthier process for people to move forward with the next stage of their lives.
Gotcha. There's a big point that I really appreciated you sharing, and it's the passion of wanting to help others. And, I know we're talking about a very heavy and, maybe interpreted dark topic as far as divorce goes, but I could just see how you're there to help families and help the couple, break up in a healthy way. And I definitely appreciate that of you. And, that's something that I have to face even with my practice sometimes, is couples will come in and just say, no, we can't anymore. And it's just unhealthy and we have to split up. And we work on all these same things as far as breaking up amicably in a healthy way for children's sake, family's sake, and overall just our own internal values of how we want to be as people. And sometimes we have to work on that, of being able to split up in a healthy way. So I appreciate everything you shared. What got you into this? Like, what led you to wanting to do, I guess, family law in general, and then even more so being a mediator?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a creative person, so I'm a problem solver. I've run
Mm,
several businesses.
mm,
I've invented products and started and come up with new companies that
mhm,
still exist to this day. So, I'm someone that has a strong business and financial side of my mind.
mhm,
Uh, but I just care deeply about people and their kids.
mm,
And I love being on the cutting edge of something that I know will become the way of the future. And I don't think
mm,
the future is that far off. I mean, I believe in the next 7 to 10 years, it will be the litigators who are at the 10% of people first hiring them, and it will be the mediators um, that are getting the bulk of the divorce work, because it's
mm,
just such a viable way. I mean, it's pretty simple. The issues of divorce for almost everyone are the same. It's how do we divide your property, your assets
mhm,
and debts. Uh, we have to figure out what's community property, like what you guys accumulated jointly, and
mhm,
then we divide that pursuant to California law. And it's pretty simple. California law says divide things in half. So
mm,
we have the assets and debts. We have a parenting plan if they have children. California really prefers both parents to have ongoing and continual contact with their kids. So, the age of, punishing your spouse during a divorce by only giving them 10% access to your kids is over. You
mm,
can go to litigation if you want to go that route, and I'm sure you'll have a lawyer that will tell you, yeah, we're going to get it. You're going to be with your kids 100% of the time, and they're not going to see your kids ever. And it's not true. The courts have this. The research is pretty clear that if there's two loving parents involved in this child's life, then the child is better off with both parents being involved. And then third, there's the issues of support. So there's child support and spousal support. Child support is actually done pursuant to a calculator that the state of California gives us. So we input each party's income and some different expenses, and there's a calculator that we all use that spits out what the child support's going to be. So
mhm,
now we're really only left with spousal support, which used to be called alimony. So these issues are the same over and over and over, and I've done 1,000+ cases. So um, I think the better approach is for the two parties to find a mediator and to form a team. And on this
mm,
side of the team, we're together. And what's on the other side are the problems of divorce. We don't need to spend time fighting each other and attacking each other and bringing up all the stuff that got us to this point already. I've heard it all. I don't need to hear any more of it. What we need to do is say, okay, well, this is where we're at. Divorce, unfortunately, is a business negotiation. It's a
mm.
business split. It's a determination of the finances, and then of course the emotional aspect with the kids. But um, that's kind of the reality of the situation.
Mhm.
And parties, you've probably heard, I would rather spend every cent before I give it to him or give $1 to
Yeah.
her. Sure, there are those people, and they probably aren't, great prospects for mediation. But there's also the other 95% of people that can get this done in this process.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people realize like everything involved in divorce. And it was just like you're hitting point after point, and I'm melting. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I don't I don't want people to ever have to experience this. And it's so much healthier in the perspective that you're sharing of mediation. Yeah, let's do this as a team to preserve things that came out of this relationship and in a healthy way, like something beautiful, like children and family. So I definitely appreciate the
Let
perspective you
me,
shared.
let me give you a real quick example of a situation I had that was very common, but this was actually a situation. My client called me. They were going through a divorce. This was way back when I was litigating cases back in the
Mm,
early 2000s. So my client called me So I'm a bill. Every litigating attorney bills by the hour, but every
Hmm.
time you call them, they bill by the minute for their hourly rate. So
Sure.
she called me and said, "Hey, my daughter didn't come home from her dad's house with her backpack." And I said, "Okay." She said, "Well, can you call and figure out where the backpack is?" And I said, "Are you sure
Hmm.
you want me to call and figure out what the backpack is and what happened?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, no problem. I will do that." So we hung up. That was 15 minutes. My rate back then was $450 an hour. So, whatever that added up to. So I called the other attorney, left a message. That cost money. The attorney
Hmm.
called me 3 days later, back. I was in court, left me a message. Then when I got back to my office the next day, I emailed the attorney, "Hey, you know about this backpack situation? You know where the backpack is?" He got back to me by email. "Yeah, let me talk to my client. I'll find out about the backpack." Okay. He calls his client. The guy doesn't answer. The guy calls his attorney back 2 days later. The attorney's not there. The attorney calls him back again. "Hey, you know about the backpack?" "Yeah, I have the backpack. I'm sorry about that. I'll set, next time she comes and it's my turn to have her, she'll come back with the backpack. My bad." Okay. I get that message on my voicemail. I call my client. "The backpack will be returned next time you send your daughter over to dad's house." She said, "Okay, great." Guess what? I sent her a bill for $750, and he sent her a bill for $750. They spent $1,500 to find out where the backpack was. And it actually took
Wow.
almost a week and a half before the two lawyers helped figure out where the backpack was. These are situations that are ridiculous. Two
Hmm.
people can communicate about basic issues with each other. And that's a conversation that should take 2 minutes, not 2 weeks.
Wow. you know, I, I appreciate you breaking that down for us because I don't think people think about this. I would have never thought of that. Like $750 to get a backpack and then your kid didn't have a backpack for a week.
Yeah,
Wow. 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 Wow.
bad. I
So
mean, it's lawyers, and especially like long term, like after the divorce is way over, your lawyer's not going to be there to help you communicate with your ex-spouse. If you have
Mhm.
kids, you will have to communicate with each other. So you're not going to continue to pay your lawyer to help that communication. So at some point, you need to learn how to communicate. And that's a lot of what we do in mediation. I mean, the parties are
Mhm.
talking
Mhm.
through issues with each other, and they learn to communicate effectively, and let some of the stuff go, the
Yeah.
tension. And as you know, Gabriel, like one of the things I tell people all the time is, divorce, it's okay. First of all, like don't worry. You're not going to hurt your kids just by divorcing, in
Mhm.
my opinion. And I've read about this. I'm not an expert, but it's more about the tension, the ongoing
Mhm.
tension, and the fighting is what hurts the kids.
Yeah.
And you just need to let that stuff go.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I agree. The whole purpose of these videos, the Psych in Real Life series, is to talk to other community members and professionals with real topics that we experience in our own real lives. And I appreciate you sharing this. And the big part of it is how does it relate to mental health or psychology? And you keep hitting a hot point of communication. Can you talk a little bit more about the elements that you find helpful related to mental health and communication?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the separation process, I often will tell people like, you before you respond to any communication that's initiated by the other side,
Mm,
take a breath, take an hour, have a rule that you won't respond for 30 minutes.
mm,
Take a walk around the block. I mean, do something because, I'm not perfect. I'm a better practitioner than I am a role model in my own life. I do get upset in my life. I fly off the handle at stuff. My kids will tell you if they were here, that I'm not the perfect everything, but I think that in terms of communication, give some space to the issue before you respond is a good
mm,
is a good starting point, at least, and a tip. And kind of respond, to the facts.
mm,
And don't let if you I've seen this a lot in mediation. If you ignore like the little remarks that the other person makes and
Mhm.
just respond to the facts and or stay on point about what the conversation is, you'll communicate in a subtle way to the other side that you're not going to fall into their trap.
Mm.
And the other side will pick up on that, and they'll mature, and they'll
Mm.
stop trying to get you to and bait you into those traps, because you're making it really clear to them that you're here to focus on the facts and what's at issue, and
Mhm.
not to rehash these things that got you in trouble to begin with.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I love it. The part of tension is what affects people the most. And then also the communication part of it is, yeah, it takes two to tango, right? So if somebody is pushing on you with those buttons, we either A, set the boundary just straight up and say, I'm not going to entertain this. And we are here to work on this in a healthy way as co-parents. And so I'm going to set the boundary there, or just don't entertain it and stay focused, like you're saying, with the facts and on task. I tell people a lot is I don't, with mindfulness, which is exactly what you're describing. I don't know if you knew that, but
Not really, no. Tell me.
yeah, yeah, you're talking about mindfulness, being present moments and being on track and giving yourself a buffer before you respond. So if somebody is kind of pushing those buttons, we don't want to respond immediately, especially with those years of past hurt. We don't want to go in the past and bring that up and respond from that. We want to just be present, moment focused, give ourselves a little bit of a buffer before we respond. Like you said, that 10-minute break, and then also not entertaining things that are not on track. So it would be the same as if you and I are talking in this video and then you start asking me about other things that aren't relevant to this video. Now I have the choice. I could either entertain those questions, which I won't be rude in our interview, so if you ask me something I'd answer. But I have that choice of, if I know it's going to create tension and get me off track of what our conversation is supposed to be about, I just don't entertain it. And I stay on track and I say, hey, Scott, tell me a little bit more about your practice. And we stay in the moment versus entertaining conflict triggering conversations.
Yeah, I mean, we all want what's best for our children, and
Mm.
really we almost have to put them first. I mean,
Mm.
but in a way, putting them first helps your whole world. I mean, my mom and dad would love to see my kids. Well, if we ever got divorced and I was horrible to my wife,
Mm.
my mom and dad probably wouldn't have as much opportunity to see my kids.
Yeah.
My kids wouldn't have the opportunity to see their nephews and nieces. I mean, sorry, my
Mm.
nephews and nieces,
Mm.
their first cousins, all these things. I mean, the last thing that you want to do to your kids is make them worried about, our mom and dad going to see each other at their graduation, or where are
Mm.
we going to sit mom and dad at the wedding? I mean, these things
Mm.
are just like, you're putting too much on your kids. You got to put
Yeah.
first. And if you don't have children and you want to spend every dime you have to feeding your spouse during divorce, well, at least then you're not going to have any further communication with them once it's all said and done. So I mean, I guess if you're that type of person, then go do it.
Mm. Mm.
But
Mm.
you're also obviously hurting yourself. But if you have children, the litigation system, it's not like a business that has a business dispute and they need a business attorney. I agree. You definitely need a business litigator if your business is being sued. Or if you're an employee that was sexually harassed at your company, you definitely need an employment attorney. I mean,
Mm.
you need attorney. If you get in an auto accident, you definitely need a personal injury attorney. I agree.
Mm.
I'm not anti-attorney. I am an attorney. I'm just and I'm not even anti-family law attorney. I have a lot of friends that are family law attorneys, and I go to lunch with them all the time. What I'll tell them, and I would say to their faces, I just wouldn't hire you, because it's just not the path that's needed for the vast
Mm.
majority of people.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm sure our viewers can appreciate this almost inside information on just the process and alternative ways to look at it. As we wrap up, I would love to hear if you have any additional recommendations related to mental health as far as coping skills that maybe couples that are watching this video, or people that are kind of in a tension point. You share that you've been in your own counseling and couples counseling, and you work on your own things. What have you found helpful for you?
I mean, I really think education is a key. I
Mhm.
mean, before you go down this road, like I said, I don't work with anyone that's outside that hasn't tried counseling, and I
Mhm.
lose clients that way, and that's okay because I'm not everybody's person, and
Mhm.
I'm fine with that. I have a big practice, and it's okay for me to lose clients but I'd rather lose a client that hasn't attempted to save their marriage than
Mhm.
take them on and have them feel regret later. Um, but really, education is the key in divorce in the family law context.
Mhm.
Um, i- there are so many organizations. Actually speak at an organization called Vesta, where I
Mhm.
donate my time 3 times a month, and there's a whole slew of professionals that join me. And so there's a mediator, a divorce coach, a therapist, and we all talk to people for free and we give advice and answer questions. And there's a lot of
Mhm.
organizations like Vesta, uh,
Mhm.
all over the country. So there's Second Saturday. I mean, they're all over the country. So really educate yourself and try to form a team
Mhm.
so that if you decide to go down this road, what I often say is, when you go into the emergency room, you don't immediately see the surgeon that cuts you open to fix your arm. Let's say you hurt your arm. Um, you first go in and you see a nurse and they get you situated, and then you see a emergency room doctor, and then you get an x-ray, and then someone reviews the x-ray, and then if surgery is needed, they call in the surgeon, and if the surgeon comes in, looks at everything, does the surgery, then you come out of surgery, there's another nurse there for you, you're in the hospital recovering, then you go into physical therapy, and of course you have your friends and family to help you improve and get better.
Mhm.
It's not in divorce. When you hire just a litigator, that person is all those things for you. So you've
Mhm.
now entrusted your entire life to that one person. You've basically gone straight to the surgeon when there's other opportunities. So, consult what's called a certified divorce financial analyst. That's a designation I have as well, but there's financial experts that just do that work, and they help you understand what your financial picture looks like, and they're not that expensive.
Mhm.
Consult a divorce coach and a psychologist and a mental health professional so that you can make calm and rational decisions during your divorce, because you will be tempted not to. At times, you'll be upset and you'll be emotional. Engage a mediator like myself or somebody else. There's lots of great mediators. And then, you're not without the ability to hire what's called a consulting attorney. So
Mhm.
in mediation, you can still have your own attorney. It's just they don't come into the mediation room. You basically talk to them on a limited basis. You let them know, okay, this is what happened at the last mediation session, and here's the mediator's notes that he sent us, and here's my spouse's financial forms that they filled out, and here's my financial forms. What do you think that I should be asking for? What are my rights? But they're only billing you when you initiate that contact. Unlike the litigation setting where they are your whole life and you don't even know what's happening because they're running the whole case. So you have a consulting attorney, and then when I draft your marital settlement agreement, which is the document that contains all the agreements that you made during mediation, you take that to your consulting attorney and you say, here's the agreement. What do you think?
Mhm.
So you still have someone that can look out just for your rights if you have the funds and to afford that.
Mhm.
um, so you basically build a team, and just going straight to the surgeon is not a smart decision for most people.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for
And
sharing that.
sorry for talking so long.
Not at all. I'm sure this is helpful information for everybody that's watching. As far as the coping skills that you use, either for yourself, like for calming down, when you said that you get upset, like what do you do for yourself? Like breathing exercises? Do you go for walks or hobbies? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of mediation sessions, we do a breathing exercise where we breathe in for 7 seconds, breathe out for 10. And we do that 3
Mm,
times just to get us centered and focused. But, I'm a big walker, but I also, I meditate. I always
mm,
meditate every morning, whether it's for 10 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever I have
mm,
time for. I get up at 5 in the morning, so I have like that little time to myself where I make my tea and I try to stay calm and focused and centered.
mm,
Because
mm.
my job is not always the most fun job, but in the end, I'm able to help people. It makes me feel really good about the
Yeah,
way that I support my family.
good, good. Oh,
What about
thank
yourself?
you.
How do you
For me,
how do you
yeah,
before we end? How do you stay grounded and centered?
yeah, well, you know what? I have so many videos on my channel about this, but mindfulness, it's all about being in the present moment and just being all in to whatever you're doing. So I focus a lot on my hobbies. So right now I'm really into 3D printing. So I'm kind of a nerd, which I've shared in other videos, but I'm actually making a full size BB-8 from Star Wars.
Cool.
So I'm making an animatronic BB-8. So that's a big project that I'm doing right now, and I get all into it. I dedicate at least an hour of my day to just doing something I really enjoy. Other than my work, I really love doing what I do for a living, but just some free time to just kind of unwind. I also focus a lot on music, meditation. I use my Calm and Headspace apps. Those are very helpful for me. And then just with my partner, we do different activities. We go for walks every day. We have our own garden that we've been kind of working on ever since COVID started. So we got a lot of things to just kind of get our mind off of things and just enjoy.
Good, man. Well, you're first of all, you're a really great interviewer, but I've known you for quite a while. You're a really great person too. So I really appreciate you bringing me on
Thank you.
to your show and giving me the chance to try to educate people about
Thank you.
their options and everything.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time and meeting with us via Zoom. If people did want to get in touch with you, could you mention how they could do that?
Yeah, my my website is san diego familylawyer.net, but my phone is 858-255-1321, and I have a Calendly link on my website, so you can book an appointment. It's a free consultation. I do them all the time. I'm happy to help people through any situation that you think I might be, whether it's related to my practice or
Mhm.
possibly I could refer you to the right direction. I'm happy to connect and help people through anything that they're going through.
Great, great. And I'm going to link the website in the description below. So check it out if you need any advisement or have questions about this topic. Feel free to contact Scott. And then, of course, we talked about communication a lot. We have a playlist of communication skills, and we talked about mindfulness a lot. We have a playlist on mindfulness on the channel. So check all those things out. And if you have any questions for either one of us, please feel free to reach out to either one of us. Both of our contact information is going to be in the description below. Once again, thank you so much, Scott, for meeting with us today and talking about everything that you do. I appreciate the perspective you have and how you are helping people in this difficult situation.
Thank you. And as my kids would say, like and subscribe. Click the
Yeah.
notification button.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.